Now, imagine yourself face to face with a type of radiation so powerful, so devastating, that just getting close is certain death, and more. Do you have any idea of the ABSURD? Bizarre and completely out of this world things that exist in Chernobyl. Deformed creatures, mutant animals, and an invisible terror that still haunts that place to this day. Do you know the story of Chernobyl? One of the biggest and most devastating nuclear disasters of all time. In the early hours of April 26, 1986, reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant simply collapsed. It overheated and exploded. An explosion that released an absurd amount of radiation, spreading in all directions at terrifying speed. And just so you understand, in only 24 hours, this radiation had already spread over 2,000 kilometers. Thousands of people were immediately sent to what was called the exclusion zone, the heart of the disaster, to try to do the impossible, contain the uncontainable. Helicopter pilots flew directly over the reactor crater, dropping lead, sand, and boron in a desperate attempt to extinguish the fires. Soldiers took turns on the rooftops, trying to remove the highly radioactive debris beneath the core. Dozens of miners dug tunnels on a suicide mission to build barriers that could at least prevent the so-called radioactive Pripyat River from spreading even further. Construction workers raced against time to build dams and containment walls. Meanwhile, the people living in the city, in the surrounding areas, were evacuating in a hurry, and at the same time, thousands more were arriving, trying to contain the chaos. But the scariest thing is that not everyone knew what was really happening. The truth about the severity of the accident was hidden. Only those living very close to the plant were warned. And listen, radiation levels were so
possible altitude without 4.4 it'll be we have 8 over here 9
so high that even in Kiev, more than 200 kilometers away, the air, the water, and the soil itself were already completely contaminated, and what exists inside to this day is simply chilling. Do you know what can be considered the true monster of Chernobyl? It's called the elephant's foot, or the nuclear Medusa. But don't worry, it's not a living monster, not an animal, but it can be just as deadly. Just getting close to it is enough for a human being to simply die. The elephant's foot is nothing more than a mass of radioactive lava, formed at the exact moment of the reactor explosion. Imagine an insane mixture of uranium, graphite, sand, and molten metals. All of that melted, burned, dripped, and in the end, solidified, forming this true bomb of radiation in the shape of rock. And check this out. That monstrous mass is only 2 meters long and half a meter tall, but it holds hundreds of tons of radioactive material. It's one of the most dangerous objects on planet Earth. Just getting near it is a death sentence, and it doesn't stop there. Yes, inside, there are animals, real animals, that live in that place. But forget the animals, you know. Many became mutants, others completely deformed, and there are even species that to this day, science can't explain. Farm animals were the most affected. Calves with TWO heads, cows born with legs on their backs, foals stunted with grotesque malformations, chickens with fur legs, and creatures so deformed they look like they came from another planet. And there's more. One day, a camera caught something simply terrifying. Yes, a crocodile, completely abnormal, caught there near Chernobyl. Of course, many debate whether it was real or some kind of hoax. But let's be honest, under the conditions of that place, absolutely anything is possible. And if you think it's over, brace yourself, because there's more. There's a place there, considered simply the most dangerous spot in the entire city of Chernobyl. And no, it's not the reactor. It's the city's hospital. That's where the first victims of the explosion were taken. Firefighters, plant workers, and everyone who heroically tried to contain the fire in those first moments. These people arrived at the hospital 3 hours after the explosion. But the amount of radiation they carried was so extremely high, so absurd, that in less than a day, they had to be immediately transferred to Kiev because the hospital was already completely contaminated. And do you know what's even more bizarre? The hospital became one of the most dangerous places in the city because of the clothes, shoes, and sheets that these victims had used. And do you know what's even more bizarre? The hospital became one of the most dangerous places in the city because of the clothes, shoes, and sheets that these victims had used. Today, there's a specific place inside that hospital called the Death Corridor, a basement about 60 meters long, full of doors, small rooms, and inside them are all those radioactive clothes. A person who broke into this place measured the radiation from a single boot. The result, 1,000 times more radiation than the safe limit for a human being. That basement, theoretically, is completely forbidden. But, as always, some still take the risk. Now, if you think all this is disturbing enough, get ready, because you need to understand what happens to your body if you were near that explosion. Inside, your blood starts to collapse, your organs literally start to melt, your immune system simply shuts down. And if you think you can resist, don't even think about it. At extreme levels like those from the Chernobyl explosion, in just a few minutes, you start vomiting, bleeding, losing consciousness, and total collapse is inevitable. Within hours or even minutes, your body simply shuts down. But it's not fainting. It's not sleep. It's the absolute collapse of everything that keeps you alive. And for those who had extreme exposure, like the first firefighters and plant workers, their bodies began to disintegrate days later, from the inside, slowly, in a slow, cruel, and terrifying death. Some reports say that the face would swell so much that the eyes almost popped out. The skin would simply fall off in pieces, and the radiation burns were so deep, they went through muscles, all the way to the bones. It was like watching your own body being destroyed while you were still conscious. This is what radiation does. This is the price of getting close to something that simply was never meant for human presence. And now tell me, would you have the courage to be near it? Even knowing all this, we're talking about a level of radiation capable of turning a human being into living ashes. In the first seconds of exposure, radiation starts passing through your body as if it were made of paper. Every cell, every tissue, every piece of your DNA starts being literally destroyed. Your skin starts to burn from the inside out. It's not a regular burn. It's like your body is frying under your own skin. Then come the blisters, huge, swollen. The skin peels off like you were dipped in boiling acid. This is what radiation does. This is the price of getting close to something that simply was never meant for human presence. Would you have the courage to be near it, even knowing this?